Modern leadership is often equated with unwavering confidence. We expect a loud, hyper-defined presence, someone projected to always have the answers, regardless of the complexity of the problem. There is a clear appeal to this. The think big, go hard mindset is what drives early entrepreneurial success and professional breakthroughs. It creates the momentum needed to build something from nothing. But as we achieve more, we tend to tie our identity exclusively to these results. We define ourselves by our titles, by our awards, by our appearance, and a track record of never being wrong. This constant reinforcement builds a psychological echo chamber. When our success is tied to being right, we create a brittle identity that has no way to process the possibility of a mistake. Constructing a life on the foundation of absolute certainty creates a psychological architecture that is incapable of absorbing the shock of unpredictable events. Eventually, reality runs through that ordered life like an antivirus program. An unpredictable crisis arrives, bypassing the ego and forcing a system update. This can look like a professional catastrophe, hiring a CEO who fails spectacularly after a decade of your own flawless, continuous business growth. Or a physical crisis, a sudden autoimmune response taking your hair in weeks, followed by a collapse that leaves you physically unable to speak. Our instinct during these fractures is to double down. We want to make excuses, hide the failing strategy, or retreat from the world entirely to keep the illusion of control intact. When the armor of success and appearance shatters, resilience is determined by whatever foundational material remains in the void. The alternative to the ego's retreat is to decode the crisis by embracing vulnerability. It means admitting the current strategy isn't working. This is the core of intellectual humility. It isn't about being submissive or weak. It is a ruthlessly accurate perspective of your own incompleteness. Humility is the non-negotiable base layer of the mind, the foundation for sustainable growth. Accepting you are imperfect removes the paralyzing pressure of needing to know everything, making the structure flexible to absorb shock. Ambition and innovation only function safely layered on this humble base. Steve Jobs called his firing from Apple a terrible-tasting medicine he needed. He returned with ambition tempered by humility, driving unprecedented innovation. Humility is the structural anchor that prevents high-level leadership from rotting into destructive arrogance. This base layer functions as a practical operating system during a life crisis, shifting the focus from individual ego to collective solutions. It creates psychological safety. When a leader openly admits a mistake, it builds a level of trust that a perfect facade never could. In the business crisis, the founder dropped his ego and asked his department heads for help. By admitting he didn't have the answer, he allowed his team to engineer the leadership transition that saved the company. In the physical crisis, recognizing the self as a complex system of 80 working organs shifted the mind from the panic of losing one. Recovery began with an accurate assessment of what still worked. Shifting from the need to save face to the collaborative work of how do we fix this allows a leader to regain their footing and begin the work of recovery. Transitioning to this mindset changes how you define success. It is no longer about the accumulation of titles, but the measurable impact you create for the people around you. When you are faced with external doubt, the question, "Are you sure?" you no longer need to project a false certainty to feel secure. A fragile ego is a rigid glass sphere. It is easy to shatter. A resilient mind absorbs the impact of being wrong without breaking. Accepting responsibility for your own failures removes the leverage that external judgment holds over your decisions. When you have already identified your own flaws, they stop being obstacles to your progress. You can test your own base layer today. Ask one colleague a single question. What is one thing I could do better as a leader? You must follow one rule. Absorb their answer entirely without interrupting, defending yourself, or making a single excuse. Actively seeking out your own imperfections shows a capacity for growth that rigid certainty cannot match. It proves that resilience is found in the willingness to be wrong.